Welcome all of you all for the paper discussion of July 2021 Corporate Taxation SL3 in the pillar of your law and taxation. Now Lamai, before coming to the paper discussion, actually I need to highlight key things for which relevant for your December examination. That is because we are discussing the paper, the aiming of your December examination. Therefore, the key things which I need to come into before go for the answer discussion, since this is a discussion of paper, this entire discussion of the section 1, question 1 and question 2 and the section 2, question 3. That's our plan, okay? Then the first thing is for December 2021. For your examination, all of you all know Lamai, it is the testing with the amendments to the value added tax and the amendments to the Inland Revenue Act. These two acts, the particular amendments testing for your examination. The Value Added Tax Act number 9 of 2021 as well as the Inland Revenue Act number 10 of 2021. All of you all know these things now. The web notice has issued from the CA Sri Lanka. Once the act has passed, which is on, if not mistaken, 13th May 2021, act has certified by the amended acts were certified by the speaker. Then at that time, the communicating to the students, it has issued the changes are testing for your examination. Then therefore, all the changes will be tested in your paper. Then all of y'all should be aware on the changes relevant to your year of assessment. What is your year of assessment, Lama? Your year of assessment is 2021. This is your year of assessment, which is testing for your examination. Then for this year of assessment, all the changes with the two amended acts relevant to VAT and the Inland Revenue Act are testable. That's the first announcement. Now, for have or gather knowledge and for application of these things, you all having the amended act, Value Added Tax Amended Act, Inland Revenue Act Amended Act. Other than that, Lamai, the institute has issued the supplementary to your SL3 study text. Therefore, I am highly recommending go through that supplementary. It is in your web portal. Please go through it and please look at on it. Because all the changes relevant to year of assessment, it has incorporated. Therefore, with your main study text, please go to the supplementary and have that knowledge. It's essential, compulsory for your December 2021 examination. Okay. Then when it comes to the Inland Revenue Act, it has two things, Lamai. The changes or amendments applicable for year of assessment 2021 as well as the amendments applicable on or after 1st April 2021. Then therefore, it's applicable for with effective from 1st April 2021, which is maybe 21-22 onwards. For that things also you need to look at what are these, at least you have at a glance picture on these things, because the act has passed in your syllabus in the contemporary issues in taxation. That 10% of the syllabus area, since it has legislated, those things also can be tested. Therefore, you should have my final, the message to you all, Lama, you should have a good understanding, definite, compulsory application and the understanding about the changes under Inland Revenue Act and the Value Added Tax Act. That's the first message, because this the exam paper we are discussing, it's July 2021, which is latest paper, but it is not subject to the amendments. It is not subject to the amendments, but keep in mind in December your examination, it is subject to testing of the amendments. Okay, that's the key message which I need to provide it to you all. Okay, now we will go for the paper discussion steadily. I am starting from the question 2, which is one of the easiest question in the paper, not easiest, it's average question. Then I am starting from that. Before that, we will come to our plan for the discussion of the paper. Okay, this is July 2021, your latest paper discussion. Now we will come to analysis of the, which it is the held in the online. We will look at what is the content of the oral requirements of the paper when it comes to the 3 questions in 2 sections. Okay, that's these are important, Lamai, because you should have a overall understanding about your paper. That's not only a one section, not only a one question. You should have, okay, this is the flow of the paper. Then you should know what are the marks allocated, what are the tax planning questions asked, transfer pricing questions asked, the business decision making questions asked. Then all these things you should know, and the practice of the past papers, it's essential. You should have a proper the practice of the past papers which consists of the past questions. Then it's a one of the good help for you all. Therefore, I wish you all are doing these things prior to the examination. Okay, now we will come to this one, the section 1, question 1. It has 2 parts. If you have look at the paper, I will come to the paper. Before that, I need to come for this one, the part A, which is non-resident and international taxation, which is a definite part of the paper, and it is usual the way it is testing non-resident and international taxation. You all know now the flow of the paper. In that, Lamai, part 1, discussion of income tax liability, explaining the concept of PE, permanent establishment concept. You need to explain it. It consists part 1 and part 2 both. Now, first one is to discuss the income tax liability of the permanent establishment. That's the first thing. Secondly, computation of tax liability applicable to non-resident person. In a resident company taxation, 30 marks goes to resident person. Now, for this one, you need to compute income tax liability of a non-resident person, including the remittance tax. If there is a permanent establishment, on that permanent establishment, if there is it's attributable for permanent establishment is generating the business income, then under the definitions of the remittance, remitted profit, you have to pay the remittance tax. Clear? Then it's for the 3 marks. Then I have included one important point. What is that important point? Total answer is based on the analysis which you have done on part 1. It's in the question it has asked based on above. If you have gone for the question paper, then therefore, the accuracy, the decision of the first question answer is based on that first question answer. The second question answer is depending. Okay. Then part 3, withholding tax provisions applicable to service fee. In here, the withholding tax provisions as per the Inland Revenue Act, as well as the withholding tax provision according to the double taxation treaty, the tested DTA is Sri Lanka and India. Then in that you have to write the both provisions, and the conclusion should be given according to the double taxation treaty. Why we should give our conclusion according to the double taxation treaty, Lamai? Because the double taxation treaties are supersedes the Inland Revenue Act. Okay. Now that's for the part A of the section 1, question 1. Now we will come to the section 1, question 1. This is a continuation, part B. This is a analysis of the options, and this is the analysis of the option in the part B. Taxation and business decision making, the assessing the options with reference to individual. Now this is in relation to your syllabus area of taxation and business decision making. That's why I am every time I am telling the brought forward knowledge from the previous level is essential when it comes to corporate taxation, which is SL3. Okay, then therefore this is taxation and business decision making, which decision assessing the options with reference to individual. It has tested the assessable income from employment. Now see, it's 6 marks allocated for that. Okay, that's the analysis of the question 1. In that, the one part is for the non-resident and international taxation testing with the double taxation treaty in between Sri Lanka and India. The second one is on the taxation and business decision making, which is assessing the options with reference to the individual, resident individual. Okay, then that's on the question 1. Now we will come to the question 2, Lamai. In the section 1, question 2, this is value added tax and income tax. This both are tested. In the income tax sense, it has tested the main deduction rule. Value added tax, there are 2 questions. One is testing on the assess the balance VAT payable for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. And the rest of the part, which is one of the hot topic when introducing or when changing the tax rates with reference to with effective from 1st December 2019, and for that the 2 gazette notifications issued, it has tested that gazette notification with relevant to the restaurant, hotels, the guest house like that, with the registered in the Tourist Development Authority. The application of the income tax rate and the claiming of the input VAT, this is testing. We will come to the part A, part B and part C. Assessing the balance VAT payable for the VAT payable, VAT payable for the taxable period, which is for 10 marks. Okay. Part B, discussion of deduction of expenses as per the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act, supporting with the case law provision. Now, how this easy for the students, Lamai? It is even the name of the case law has provided by the examiner. Then if you, I'm genuinely telling, for this question, if you all studied well, it's taken a 25 out of 25 is nothing. You all can do this. You all can do this. The one of the good question from the side of the students. Okay, then this is for case law provision, because this part, this way of the case laws, it has tested previously also. That's why I have mentioned the patricin of the past papers are really important. Okay, then it is deduction of the expenses. Then part C, advising on VAT liability of a company, which is restaurant, the registered with the Tourist Development Authority, which is a hot topic. With the changes, it has tested for 8 marks, and this is, it's relevant for the VAT, the applicable VAT rate and the claiming of the input VAT. These are the requirements. Now this is the question 2. Actually, I am starting to do the session on this question 2 answer discussion. That's for the summary of the question 2 requirements. And the question 3, based on pre-seen in last time, it has tested the educational industry. Then in that the pre-seen has issued. Based on the pre-seen, the unseen has tested, and that one also in the same the format of the paper, the questions ask computation of balance tax payable by resident company for the year of assessment 2021. Keep in mind, Lamai, this was tested prior to amendments. This was tested prior to amendments. Now your examination, all these things are tested after the amendments. And part B, advice on tax implications, benefits of business decision with transfer pricing issues. It has 2 questions, the Roman 1 and Roman 2. This is given option. In that option, you have to evaluate when we are going to take a tax benefit or a tax arrangements, in the tax on the schemes, then with the associated person, do we have transfer pricing issues with us? You need to analyze the scenario and you need to write an answer with taking out the transfer pricing issues, the Roman 1 and Roman 2. Okay, that's the part B for the 10 marks. And this also, the transfer pricing one lamai, in the anti-avoidance provisions under Inland Revenue Act, it is and the gazette notification, all these things, it is again it's one of the application part of the hot topic currently in the Patris. Okay, then part C Roman 1 and part C Roman 2, income tax and VAT administration, because in the pre-scene it has given the intimation letters issued, the assessments, some details on that administration or statutory provisions were given. It has tested for the 10 marks with reference to income tax and the VAT, both tax administration part. Okay, this is the paper. This is your paper. Then if I have analyzed the paper, it is one of the for students who prepared well can score 50 marks without any doubts. You all can score more than 50 if you know the things well. Then it's even it's online or physical. Okay, now we will come to next important point. Now you all know what is the requirements of your paper lamai. Then actually I need to go for your performance. What happened at the examination? We will come to the examiner's comments. I need to come for the examiner's comments. Here we go. Then we will come to the corporate taxation one. This is for SL2 and this one. Question 3 here. Okay, corporate taxation SL3 July 2021 examiner's comments. Now you all know what's your input. Now you need to look at what's your output. As the students who did the exam previously, if you have the unsuccessful, you should remember these errors what you have done and you need to correct those things. The students who are facing at first time for the SL3 paper, you should take into your mind, I'm not going to do these mistakes. Okay, this is one of the valuable document for students. That's why I have taken this general comment. I'm not going to have a question wise question, but I need to go for a general performance part. I need to discuss with you all to avoid this errors, mistakes and carelessness things at your December 2021 examination. Come to this general comment. The candidates had to face this examination online due to the COVID-19. Even though the candidates were permitted extra time, some candidates had not followed the instructions presented to them properly. Then it's on the physical, that's why I have told them it's even the physical, it is even the online, you have to face for that. That's it only. You have to face for that. Then whatever the circumstances, the situations are changing now. Then with the pandemic and all these things. Therefore, you should have to adjust the situation. That's the essential thing. We don't know. Even if you have taken practically, even if we are working in the organization, there are the drastical changes, then we have to adapt for that. Then that's the first thing, you have to encourage yourself any way, it's a physical or online, I am facing to the paper and I will pass this. That's the ultimate thing which you should have in your mind. Okay. Then performance of candidates, I am going for a general performance. The general performance of candidates in this examination was not satisfactory. What's happening? It's not satisfactory, Lamai. Compared to the previous examination. Previously, it's a March 2021 examination. a majority of candidates had not demonstrated the methodical approach. See, a majority of the students had not demonstrated the methodical approach to answering questions and were therefore unable to produce reasonable focus, relevant answers addressing to the core components of each requirement. That's why I am always, even all the webinars which we have conducted, in every time we have focus on your answer format for how to write a methodical answer. It's not just a theory answer. You should take the things from the act, the relevant sections. First thing, it should be I'm again focusing on the answer format, since it is continuously it was an issue. Then the answer format, because this is a higher level, then under that the answer format should be not just write in a theory. You should have write the particular, the legal provision according to the Inland Revenue Act or a VAT Act, maybe according to the Gazette notifications. After the legal provision, lamai, you should need to apply that this part is even we highlighted this lot, but this application part is very less. The apply to given scenario. Apply to given scenario. It's essential, lamai. It should be applied to the given scenario. If not, how you are going to solve that? Your position is a tax advisor, tax consultant. Then apply to given scenario. How to apply? Taking the facts from the scenario. Taking the facts from the scenario. Facts and information from the scenario. From the given mini scenario. Then you have to apply that. Then you need to compare it with the legal provision and what it has given. By comparing that, you should need to provide a conclusion or a recommendation. Recommendation. Maybe your action verb. Maybe your action verb discuss. Then you have to argue with the provisions of the act and what's the current scenario. Then you have to argue. If it is evaluate, you have to look at. Then you have to give your suggestions. It's advise, evaluate, discuss, the higher level of action verbs testing. Now see, you don't have a methodical answer. Therefore, please don't do this in this time examination. You should have a proper answer format for your answer. Okay? Then the second one, candidates should be reminded that passing an examination would depend entirely on the time and resources utilized in preparing for the examination. That's what Lama, you should prepare for the examination. Without that, you cannot do this. This is not an easy task. Therefore, you should prepare for the examination well, and students should make good use of past questions. Please practice the past papers. From 2020 curriculum, we are having pilot paper. After that, December 2020 paper, March 2021 paper, and finally this one, July 2021 paper. Therefore, before the exam, please go through and do that questions and practice, please. Then, and model answers as means of the assessing their level of adequacy will before the final examination. Then go through the suggested solutions, and again from this webinar series up to now I have discussed all the past papers including this one. Therefore, take the benefit of these. All of the resources and study texts are there. Now supplementaries is there. Then these paper discussions are there. Suggested solutions are there. Please go through. Then and also the examiner's comments. Then it appears that candidates continuously ignore the need to demonstrate the key attributes demanded in the corporate level curriculum, which require students to display their professional skills in analysis, evaluate, communication and commercial acumen. Then you should understand what's your level and your answer should be suited to your level. Again, the examining team would like to remind candidates that they should be able to compile comprehensive tax computations, which is 30 marks comprehensive tax computation. In the value added tax, there is a comprehensive tax computation. Even in the non-resident taxation, there is a comprehensive tax computation. Then also, they should be able to demonstrate skills in tax planning, decision making, minimizing tax expenditure, mitigating risk and also effective communication with tax authorities, clients and the management. Lamai, this is a practical paper. That's why you are positioning every time a tax consultant. Okay? Therefore, answers comprised of merely technical knowledge will not earn adequate marks for this level. Nikamma theory liyanna epa. You should go for this format. You should apply that theory knowledge to the given scenario. Okay, then it's a examiner is highlighting these things for the own benefit of you all. Then next one, students should read widely in order to broaden their horizons and acquire the terminology which would enable them to write with ease. Then students fail to read from range of relevant articles. It affects their ability to advance the coherent argument in their presentations. That means your answer format should be right in a very comprehensive manner, or your answer should be in a very comprehensive manner. In my language, Lama, you should provide a tax opinion. To provide tax opinion, you should have the thorough knowledge of the law and the application part, and addressing it to the action verb, you need to write a complete answer. And for your background knowledge, the reading of the things, the gazette notifications, then all these things are adding value to you all. Then the students are also advised to follow this last one I am going to discuss with you all under examination comments. Students are also advised to follow the instructor of the paper, since 3 questions are based on given scenarios. Their answers therefore should be applied to the contents of those given practical scenarios, rather than the presenting verge theories or the making general applications or making general applications. Candidate, your answer should be scenario based. That's why you should apply to the given scenario. You should apply it to the given scenario and write your answer. That's why it's again highlighting. Candidates should also be able to address action verb. This is many times it has mentioned you should focus on the action verbs. Without addressing the action verbs, your answer not complete. Focusing on expecting learning outcomes, knowledge process and knowledge dimensions for each knowledge component towards the producing more meaningful answer. First thing, Lamai, you should know about your syllabus. The 5 syllabus components are there on your 100% of the syllabus area. You should know about that. Now before the exam, I am telling. The second one, you should thoroughly prepare for your examination. This is not a joke. Then you have to, one of the difficult papers. Therefore, you have to well prepare for your examination. Secondly, you should know how to write an answer by addressing the action verbs. The fourth one is your time management and you are interested towards the subject. All these things make you pass this examination paper. Therefore, before starting the previous answer discussion, I think I have given all the relevant facts to you all, what happened in the previously I have mentioned. Then with all these things, take these things as the background for your examination, and take the help from these things to do the examination in a well manner. Then I am not going to go for the question wise comments. Lamai, please go through this document for you all. Please go through this document even for your all subjects. Okay. Then I am coming to the paper which is here. Sorry. Then yeah. This is the paper. I am starting from the question 2. Before that, I will need to come for the introduction or the instructions to the candidates. This one, instructions to candidates. It's the 3 hours and 15 minutes paper. The 15 minutes which are reading time to you to plan the answers, and it's 100 marks compulsory. The 2 sections. In section 1, 2 questions. Section 2, 1 question, which is comprising of the 2 25 marks question and a 150 marks question based on the common present. Then it's an open book examination. In the open book examination, let me explain this one also. Now for Inland Revenue Act, you should have Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017, the original enactment, and secondly Act number 10 of 2021, which is amended Act with certified on 13th May 2021. After that, with reference to VAT, you should have the main enactment and the all subsequent amendments up to Act number 9 of 2021. Then fourthly, all relevant gazette notifications, you should have those things before the examination. Then answer should be in English language, you all know that. Then come to the point 7 in the instructions to candidate. You may assume that provisions of the IR Act number 24 of 2017 will prevail throughout the year of assessment without any subsequent amendment. Now this is for your July 2021 examination. Please note that this provision is not applicable for December 2021 examination. All amendments are testing for your paper. Okay. Then I have mentioned the source documents which you should need to look at. Then please go through all these things before your examination. Therefore, as a well prepared student. Okay, now I am coming to question 2. Question 2, which is for income tax and the value added tax. Come to here. First, I am going for the requirements of the paper for the 10 marks. Required, assess the balance VAT liability for the quarter ended 31st March 2021 per the provisions of the VAT Act. For the 10 marks, Lamai, 18 minutes you should have to spend on this. You all can do this. Even the less than 18 minutes, you all can do this. Come for the facts of the question. I will go one by one. Part A, Sweetie Confectionery Private Limited, SCP, is a company incorporated in Sri Lanka. Then it is one of the leading manufacturers of confectionery in the country. They are doing the business of manufacturing. As part of its diversification plan, SCP started buying and selling tea under the same brand name. Now, Lamai, they are in the business of manufacturing of confectionery. Suddenly, due to their diversification plan, they have changed with the manufacturing of confectionery, their resale revenue, as well as they are going to do the buying and selling of the tea. Now, when looking at this part, buying and selling of the tea, what you should know? Under the Part B of the exemption schedule, the supply of tea, is it liable supply or is it exempted supply? It is exempted supply. Lamai, when reading the question, the key things you have to write. Key things you have to write. Even when we are reading something, we are highlighting, we are keeping points. Then same things you have to do in the examination. Even 1 second is valuable. That's why these points you have to write. Okay. When doing the answer, when completing the answer, you will miss these things. Then supply of tea is exempted. Okay, for the confectionaries there is no exemption, but we will look at. The following information was extracted from the financial statement of the company prepared for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. In our requirement also, we have to compute the VAT liability for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. Okay, relevant information provided. Now, what's your VAT rate? What's your VAT rate when it comes to the comments? It has given some students are applied the VAT rate as the 15%. No, the VAT rate is 8%. VAT rate is 8%. Don't forget these things. With effective from 1st December 2019, the applicable VAT rate is 8%. Which is standard rate, 0 rated is there, and the specific rates applicable to BOI companies selling to the local market, it is there. Okay, now standard VAT rate is 8%. Then the following information for 31st March 2021, we will come to this revenue from local sales of confectionery exclusive of VAT. Then it has given very clearly whether this is inclusive supply or exclusive supply. If it is inclusive, inclusive mean what? Inclusive with VAT. That's mean with VAT. Since it is with VAT, the supply, the taxable supply, it is in the fraction of 108, and you need to eliminate, or you need to remove the VAT component by taking into 100, and the answer what we are receiving, for this answer you have to apply the 8%. These are the simple things that students are missing. Then the second one, local sales of confectionery inclusive of VAT. For that part you have to apply this one. Thirdly, export of confectionery, the exclusive of VAT, export the 0 rate. 0 rate export under section 7 of the Act, under section 7 of the VAT Act. Then local sale of tea exclusive of VAT, this local sales, it is exempted. Exempted under the second schedule, the first schedule, the first schedule, in that the part B of the supply of the tea, it is exempted. Clear? Now, which I have done as same, you have to do this analysis when reading the question. Okay? Then next one, the other income, scrap sales inclusive of VAT, the same treatment is applicable, rental income exclusive of VAT. Now you need to determine whether these scrap sales or rental income, are these things are taxable activities or not. Now we will come to this, the additional information. Other than the financial information, Lamai, we have additional information. We will look at those and go for our calculation for the 10 marks. SCP issued tax invoices for rent at the beginning of each month. Why, Lamai, this has given? What's the purpose of given this? To you to determine the time of supply under section 4. To you to determine the time of supply. For the rental income, they are issuing a tax invoice in the beginning of the month. Therefore, indirectly it has told to the student the tax invoice relevant to that month or relevant to that quarter, the correctly issuing at the beginning of the particular month. Clear? Then for the rental income, all 36 million is applicable for the quarter ended 31st March 2021, with comprising January, February and March. Okay? Then it's clear. Second one, scrap sales include the sale of plastic cans, bottles, cartoons and some waste items from the factory. Then Lamai, these are for the confectionaries, What are the scraps? It is selling. It is a taxable activity. Then as the other income, it is liable for the VAT. It is inclusive of VAT. You have to take this 1.2 million divided by 108 and take the 100 and apply the 8%. Okay. Then Roman 3, SCP has paid upfront VAT amounting to rupees 19,025,000 to Sri Lanka Customs for the raw material imported during the quarter ended 31st March 2021. Lamai, now reading the question in a what manner? Reading the question in a with a concentration is really important. What is this? This is importation of what? Importation of raw material. Now you need to look at what is my supply. What is, you have to logically read the question. What is my supply? It's a local supply of confectionery, export of confectionery, as well as the buying and selling of tea, the local sales of tea. Is this raw materials applicable for the exempted supply, which is local sales of tea? No, it is not applicable. Why? Because this is given the raw material important. We are not importing raw materials for tea, Lamai. This is applicable only for the confectionery, which is taxable supply, not the exempted supply. Thereby this 19,025,000, all the input VAT, we can claim. We can claim because this is directly applicable to the taxable supply. Okay, that's the importance of Roman 3. Roman 4, during the quarter ended 31st March 2021, SCP has paid VAT amounting to rupees 12,150,000 on local purchases. Now Roman 3 paragraph has given for the import purchases. Roman 4 has given for the local purchases. When claiming input VAT, Lamai, we are having two purchases, import purchases and the local purchases. And if we are buying from the registered identified purchases, then we are having suspended purchase, which is not claimable. We are just the showing in the tax computation. Okay. Then this is on local purchase, which include purchase of raw materials to produce confectionery items. How examine, it has clearly given. Even you don't have to have struggle on these adjustments. It has given the total local supplies relevant for only for the raw materials of confectionery. Then this is what's your conclusion. This input VAT years, I can claim it fully. Why? This is not applicable for exempted supplies. Okay. Then fifth one, in addition to SCP, has paid another 3,250,000 as a VAT on miscellaneous local purchases made for day-to-day activities of the business. Made for day-to-day activities of the business. What is this? If you need, write, Lamai, this is what? This is common input VAT. This is common input VAT, which is why, Lamai, it's common. This is applicable to all supply. Applicable to all supply. Even it's exempted, even it's liable or a taxable supply, for both this, the common input VAT is applicable. For this one, you have to make a code. Okay, for this common input VAT, I should apportion and I should need to eliminate what? Disallowable input VAT. I should need to eliminate the disallowable input VAT and take only the allowable input VAT. Clear? Then that's the importance. All the adjustments are important. That's the importance of the adjustment 5 and adjustment 6. Unutilized input tax brought forward from the previous quarter was 11.5 million. Unabsorbed excess input VAT brought forward from the previous quarter. What is your previous quarter, Lamai? It is 31st December 2020. From that quarter, the 11.5 million has brought forward to 31st March 2021 taxable period. Therefore, you have to take it as the particular relevant input tax to claim when you are computing the balance VAT payable. Okay, done. Then last one, SCP has already paid 450,000 and 250,000 on 20th February 2021 and 20th March 2021 respectively as monthly installment of the VAT liability for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. Due dates of the VAT. The due dates of the VAT. Due dates. Even I am taking these things while the discussion of the paper, Lamai, you all doing some mistakes. Still you all doing some mistakes on due dates. You all now that 15-day provision or a by-month provision was abolished. It abolished from the previous amended act. Therefore, now due dates of the payment on or before the 20th day of the subsequent month. 20th day of the subsequent month. Okay. Then our quarter is starting from the Jan, Feb, second month and March. Now we are computing for the quarter ended, the 31st March 2021. Then for January month payment, you should make on or before 20th February 2021. And for the February, you need to make the payment on or before 20th March 2021. For this one, March 1 on or before 20th April 2021. Okay. These are the due dates. Here for all these due dates, you should make on or before. On or before, done. Then the company has done accordingly on or before the particular due dates. It has done for the month of January and for the month of February. Okay. Lama, you should need to analyze this. Why I am telling, maybe in some cases, to test your knowledge on the payment due date, in some cases it is telling if this is the period, examinee is given for the January, February, March is our quarter, examinee is given and maybe paper has given the paid on the 20th January or no before the 20th January. Now what is the payment which you are making on 20th January, which is on December? Then you have to look at these things very carefully. You have to look at these things very carefully when you are taking the tax or VAT credit on the VAT payment on the monthly installment. Okay. Now it's a discussion of all the facts we have done. Now I am directly come to the answer of the question 2A. For 10 marks, which 18 minutes, which is Sweetie Confectionery Private Limited, the TIN number with the 9 digits and the value added tax computation for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. The same format I am going, it's 1,000 in the indicator of the rupees. Then we are having exempted supply and VAT rate is applicable on the value of supply under section 5, then value of supply is the next thing, and the VAT rate 8%, which if it is exempted, no VAT rate is applicable. Then for zero rated, it's a taxable supply but rate is 0. And the output VAT, what is our VAT, gross VAT liability. Then first one is on sale of confectionery, exclusion of VAT. It's 110,200. It at the rate of 8%, 8,816. Done. Then the next one, local sales of confectionery inclusive of VAT. You can see, which I have done in the question paper. It has given 502,600. In that, you need to take it for the divided by 108 and it should be multiplied by the 100. Then you are taking the value of supply, eliminating the VAT. Why Lamma you should have done like that? Because it has given it's inclusive of VAT. VAT එක ඇතුළත තමයි supply එක දීලා තියෙන්නේ. We cannot charge the VAT on VAT. We need to eliminate the VAT component and take the 8%. This what we have done to 502 600 divided by 108 and into 100 it's at the rate of 8%. It's 37,230 done. Then export of confectionery, it's inclusive of VAT, it's 0 rated under section 7. Okay, then no VAT charge. This is what? This is taxable supply. In every time the 0 rated supply is taxable supply. Don't forget these things. Then local sale of tea exclusive of VAT, this is exempted. This is exempted under first schedule part 2b. This is exempted. The supply of tea is there on the exemption list. Then it is shall not be charged with the VAT at the rate of 8%. Shall not be charged with the VAT at the rate of 8%. Okay, that's why it has separately taken under exempted or excluded category. Then scrap sales, it has given it's a taxable activity. Therefore, it is again it is inclusive of VAT. Then 1200 divided by 108 into 100. You need to take the value of supply. Here we go. We have done it. And the applicable VAT rate is the 8%. For that, 89,000 is the VAT output. Then rent income, very clearly given the invoicing part of the rent income, and it has given exclusive of VAT. Rent income, it is exclusive of VAT. If you need, we will write it exclusive from VAT. Exclusive from VAT. Then therefore, it is VAT component has not included in here. The 36,000, it's into 8%. Here we go, it's 2,880. Done. If you know the things, Lama, it's only 5-10 minutes. Then we need to take the total on these things. And here, see, I have taken the total supply. Total supply is the exempted supplies plus the taxable supplies both. This total figure we need when computing the disallowable input VAT. Then our total output VAT is 49,015. Done. Now claiming of input VAT, it's very easy. Input VAT on import purchases 19,025 because this is directly relevant to the taxable supply. This is for the confectionaries. Then again for the input VAT on local purchases, there are two kind of the local purchases. One is on purchase of raw materials relevant to confectionery items, again directly attributable to the taxable supply. It is 12,150. As it is, we can take it. And then on miscellaneous purchases, for your easy reference, I have put the wording of the common input VAT. This it has given for day-to-day operations the miscellaneous input VAT. This is applicable for exempted as well as liable supply. Then this is subject to computation of the disallowable input VAT. Clear? Now we need to take the total input VAT, it's a summation of these three, and we will come to the disallowable input VAT. How to compute disallowable input VAT, Lamai? What is my input VAT? Which is common input VAT, which is subject to attributable to the exempted supply, 3,250. What is my total supply? Which is 968,581. What is my then we need to take the exempted supply value. The supply of tea is 128,600. Clear? Then for this one we need to take my exempted the common input VAT divided by total supply into exempted supply. then this is my disallowable input VAT, common input VAT relevant to the exempted supplies, because under section 22 subsection 6 in the Value Added Tax Act, it's very clearly provided you cannot claim the input VAT relevant to the exempted supplies. With that concept, we have removed the input VAT relevant to the exempted supplies. Clear? Done. Then allowable input VAT. Now this is the 34,425 is the total input VAT. From the total input VAT, you have to take the allowable input VAT for the period. Then after deducting the disallowable input VAT, you all have in the allowable input VAT of 33,993. Then for this one, there is unabsorbed excess input VAT brought forward from previous quarter, which is 11,500. The entire or total allowable input VAT is the 45,493. Done. Now from this, don't stop from this on the story of the input VAT, Lamai. You have to divide the apportionment of the input VAT. You have to do the apportionment of the input VAT. It's on export or SVAT sales or a section 22(7), that supply which is under, it is subject to refunds and not belonging to above. It should be compared with the 100% of the output VAT and the balance input VAT with after deducting that for the export and SVAT sales, then that balance input VAT or the 100% of the output VAT, whichever is lower, you have to claim. Now we have to do this. This again, where this has mentioned, Lamai? This has mentioned again in the section 22 subsection 6 in the act, very clearly given how to claim input VAT. Okay, come, now you all familiar with these things, Lamai. On export, on SVAT supplies to section 22(7), how are we going to take? You need to only take the taxable or other than the exempted supplies. When we are taking here, you need to only take the exempted supplies. Only you have to remove the exempted supplies by taking only the taxable supply. Okay, then you have to take in the apportionment. You need to take the input VAT which is relevant to SVAT, the zero rated and the section 22(7). Section 22(7) and section 22(7) and not belonging to above. Why I have taken this? The first thing which I need to highlight, Lamai, when you are doing this computation, since it is the answer is there and all explanations are there, I am not going to take it here. But why I have taken this, when doing this computation, Lamai, don't take what? Unabsorbed excess input VAT from previous taxable period. Don't take this one. Don't take this one. Why? For this is previously totally subject to this calculation and then only it has brought forward. Therefore, these are the common mistakes students are doing. Therefore, Lamai, don't take that here it's 11,500. Don't take that for this, the apportionment of the input VAT. Okay. Now come to the calculation. Allowable input VAT for the taxable period, we are the apportioning accordingly. Now for this one, the total allowable input VAT is at 33,993. Here it should be divided by total of the liable supply then other than exempted supply, it should be multiplied by the category of SVAT or zero rated or section 22(7). In our question we are having this is the zero rated supply. Then applicable for that part 9,199, not belonging to above, which need to look at the balance from this, which is for this one the 45,493. Here lamai, now I have mentioned when we are taking to this SVAT zero rated this part, you cannot take the unabsorbed excess input VAT. But when it comes to not belonging to above, when it comes to this part, you need to take the allowable input VAT, allowable input VAT relevant to this quarter plus unabsorbed excess input VAT. Unabsorbed excess input VAT, both we have to take when coming to this part. Okay. Then here which is the 9,199 goes to first part, and the 100% of the, you have to compare 100% of the output VAT. What is the 100% of the output VAT? Is a 49,015. Please show these things. Then the balance from the input VAT for the according to this apportionment, it is 36,295. How I have arrived it? I have just minus 45,493 minus 9,199, done. Then this is the whichever is lower is the 36,295, done. Now here after apportionment the same input VAT continue. What's my VAT payable lamai? It is output VAT minus allowable input VAT. In every time VAT payable is computing, output VAT minus which input VAT? Allowable input VAT, as we have done. Then it is the 3,000 VAT payable is 3,521. There are two monthly VAT payments. It has the given in the paper, the 450,000 and the 250. Here 450 and 250 as the tax credits in the as the monthly payments of VAT. Then VAT payable for the taxable period is 3,521 minus 700, then it is the 2,821. Okay, then this is the final answer. Is this difficult? In my view, lamai, no. If you all know the things well, then you all can get the entire 10 marks. Without any doubts, you all can take the entire 10 marks. Okay, now this is the part A or part A discussion on the question 2. Now I am coming to now we will come to the same question, part B discussion. Lamai, see, this is 7 marks. Lamai, you all can, again I am telling entire 7 marks you all can gain, because this is one of the famous question in Parsley. It has tested and you all can very well attempt this part. Okay. Then don't blame me, Lamai. Now Miss is telling yes, this can be attempted, how we are the student facing for the examination. Likewise, Lamai, this is a question which is favorable for the student. That's why I am telling one of the good questions. You all can answer and earn marks from this part. Question 2, I am again repeating, you all can take the 25 out of 25 if you are particularly done with the syllabus. Okay, come to this one. What's the requirement? Discuss whether GHP. Now here you have to take, in the VAT question we have done the company name SCP. In the part B we are doing the tax, we had to provide a tax consultation on GHP, the two separate companies. You are the tax consultant of discuss whether GHP can deduct the above expense. Now my action verb is discuss on what? Whether GHP can deduct the above expense. Which expense? We don't know. We need to look at. In the income tax computation or calculation for year of assessment 2021. Okay. As per the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017 and the case law has given, which is Strong versus Woodfield, which is relevant to the hotel, that the particular the chandelier, it has fallen down to the guest, and it was determined it has a domestic expenditure, not the it's a not domestic, it's a household expenditure, not relevant to the business income, but it's the determination of case law at that time, lamai. You have to apply that to with the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act to the given scenario. We will go for what is the given scenario, part B. You are the tax consultant of Good Health Private Limited, GHP, private healthcare service provided in Sri Lanka. The income statement of GHP has a line item named, what's that line item, lamai? It's normal loss. Normal loss. The senior accountant informed that this expense is the compensation. Now it has given the type of the expenditure. It is the compensation paid to a patient who lost his finger. Unfortunately, the patient has lost the finger. Why? In a surgery due to the mistake of the surgeon. What has happened? We are a private healthcare organization, and in our income statement there is a so-called expenditure normal loss. Now we need to look at whether this normal loss, whether it's allowable expenditure for tax purposes, whether it's disallowable expenditure. How to determine it? The basis of information you have to use. What are the basis of information provided in the question? It has given the nature of the expenditure. What is the nature of the expenditure, lamai? It's a compensation paid to the patient. Now you need to ask a question. Why compensation has paid? To lose his finger. Why his finger has lost? Is it due to his error or our error? It has due to the mistake of the surgeon. It has due to the mistake of the surgeon. Now these are the information. Now how are you going to write your answer? How are you going to write your answer? I will provide only the answer format. Please go to the suggested solution and look at the detailed answer on this. Please go through and look at lamaya. Then we will come to this one. Before coming to the answer format, let me come to the summarization of the requirement of the question. Okay, summarization of the requirement of the question. Come to this. This is question 2, subsection B. Analysis of the question 2B. What is the action verb? Action verb given in the paper, it is discuss. And it's a, what is the action verb? It is in the tier 2, which is in the comprehension, that's that tier. Then discuss, what's the expectation from the examiner when the action verb is discussed? Examine in detail by argument. Lamai, when arguing, you have to argue on you have to argue on both sides. What are the both sides? For and against. Or else advantages and disadvantages. In this one we cannot take the advantages and disadvantages. The normal loss, there is a so-called expenditure of normal loss. You need to tell whether it can be deductible, whether it cannot be deductible. You have to argue on these two angles and write your conclusion. Okay. Then it given argument showing different aspects, the two different aspects. It's whether it's good or bad, whether it's argument for or argument against. Then for the purpose of arriving at a conclusion, what's the essential thing you have to arrive into the conclusion? There should be conclusion. You have to tell what is the tax treatment on this, whether it's allowable, whether it's disallowable when arriving into business income of this healthcare organization. Okay. Come to requirement, discuss whether GHP can deduct the above expense in the income tax calculation for a year of assessment 2021 per the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017 and the case of the Strong versus Woodfield. Now coverage of your answer. How to cover your answer? It has examiner very clearly asking two things, Lamai. First one is as per the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. Second one, it asking you how to support your answer by the case law provision. What is a case law provision? Strong versus Woodfield. It has tested for the 7 marks. The time allocation is 12.6. If you have wrote these things in your answer format, okay? Answer format. Here, first thing, Lamai, this is talking about the expense. When it comes to expense, you need to apply the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. Provisions of IR Act. What is the provision, Lamai? It is the main deduction rule. It is the section 11 main deduction rule. What is the main deduction rule? In the main deduction rule, it has given 3 criterions. What are those 3 criterions? The first one is it should be incurred during the year. Incurred during the year. Incurred for what? Incurred for production of income. Production of income. Which type of production of income, Lamai? The business and investment. Here we are talking about the business. Here we are talking about the business. And thirdly, third one, which we need to look at, this should be other than capital nature. Other than capital nature. Now, when it comes to this normal loss, we are looking for a normal loss which happen due to the inaccurate patries or error happen from the surgeon to the patient. Okay. Now, here this is the section 11 provision. Can we apply, this is the capital nature or not? This is other than capital nature. This is not a capital nature expenditure. Then, Lama, you have to eliminate this one. Then, incurred during the year. Yes, it has incurred already. No doubts on that. Then the second one, you have to determine this one, whether this incurred for the production of income or not. Now, secondly, this is the first one, apply the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. Second one, application. I will write this instead of apply, state. State the provisions of Inland Revenue Act. Then application of information given in the scenario. Now, only then you have to look at whether it is incurred for the production of income or not. When the application of information to given scenario, then with that you have to take the support from the case law. Support from the case law. Now you have to write as per the provision, as per section 11 of the Inland Revenue Act number 24 of 2017 and its subsequent amendments, if the under the main deduction rule, if the expenses incurred during the year for the production of income of business or investment other than capital nature, it can be deductible. Then we need to evaluate, or we need to look at the particular expenses are incurred for the production of income or not. When analyzing the information of the given scenario, then you have to write, it is the expenditure incurred for the payment or the compensation to the patient due to the error or a mistake happened by the surgeon. Now you need to look at Lamai, the decided case law facts. In this, support the answer from the case law. It has the determination very clearly given. The expenditure should be incidental to the business, or else it's directly relevant to the business. Directly relevant to the business. It should not be remotely connected. Remotely or narrowly connected to the business. This is a normal loss which the missing a finger of the patient in the healthcare organization, it is remotely connected to the business. It's not in a recurring nature. It is remotely connected to compensate expenditure which remotely connected to the business. It cannot be deductible. It shall not be deductible. You have to quote from the case law and the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act, and you have to write your conclusion. For all these things, Lamai, you have to address your action verb. Action verb. What is your action verb? It is discuss. You have to say arguments for, arguments against, and make your conclusion. Okay, this is the explanation on that. Here, the case law, you need to write the facts of the case law and apply the facts of the case law for this normal loss. And the determination or a decision given by the case law you have to take, then you have to provide the conclusion addressing the action verb of the discuss. Okay, please go through the answer of the suggested solution, then this is the answer format. Now I will come to this one again in the answer format here. Explain the criteria under Inland Revenue Act on deduction of expenses, section 11 under main deduction rule. B. Apply the provisions of main deduction rule to the facts of the question. Whether the expenditure incurred during the year, whether incurred in production of income of business or investment, and other than capital nature. Then 3. Apply the case law provision, which is Strong versus Woodfield. Check the expenditure. Now that's why you need to apply it to the scenario. Okay, check the expenditure directly relevant to the business, incidental expenditure, or remotely narrowly connected to the business. With the support of the decision of the case law provision as well as the provision of the Inland Revenue Act, write a conclusion as whether such expenses are deductible or disallowable when arriving into assessable income from business of this healthcare organization. This is disallowable expenditure. It cannot be deducted because it is remotely connected. It's a remotely connected. Okay, then this is the for the 7 marks of the question, which is talking about the deduction of expenses under the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act. Okay, done. Then we will come to the next part of the discussion, which is last part of the question 2. And Lamai, this is showing the part C of the discussion. This is showing the importance of the open book referential materials. The importance of the open book referential material, which is importance of the gazette notification. Okay, come to this one. Here, what's the question asked for the 8 marks? It asking required advise TFPL on the VAT liability of the company for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. Do you have to calculate a VAT liability? Yes. To make an advice, Lama, you have to do some calculations, and based on the calculation you have to provide your advice. Clear? Then therefore, it is asking what liability of the company. Therefore, you need to look at what is the VAT liability. You may think I just take in a taxable supply and apply the rate. Yes. Here, Lama, you have to determine the VAT rate. It come for the next paragraph, your advice. Now it has given how your advice should provide. Then your answer should be cover all these things. Your advice should clearly state what the VAT rate applicable. You need to tell what is the VAT rate, whether it's 8% or whether it's 0 rated. That is the 2 VAT rates, no? Then applicable to TFPL is and the claimability of input VAT. You have to tell the examiner whether input VAT incurred on these supplies, can it be claimable or not. For the quarter, taking into account of the relevant legal provisions of the VAT law and the gazette notifications relevant to VAT law. Clear? Now for the 8 mark, this has tested the patrical things. These are the hot topics now today we are facing. Okay, come for information. Tasty Food Private Limited, TFPL, is a company registered with the Sri Lanka Tourist Development Authority. The one information very particularly given, our so-called organization TFPL is registered with the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. That runs a restaurant. They are doing a restaurant in the southern coast of Sri Lanka. The restaurant is famous amongst locals and foreigners for its Sri Lankan foods. The total value of supplies of the company liable to VAT during the quarter ended 31st March 2021 was rupees 92,540,000. Here we have extracted one figure. What is? To compute the VAT liability, there should be the value of supply. Then that value of supply on liable supplies, it has given 92,540,000. Done. The purchases of TFPL during the quarters ended 31st December 2020 and 31st March 2020 were as follows. Lamai, why this quarters, 2 quarter information has given? Now, what is the source you are going to look at? There were 2 gazette notification issued. The main gazette notification, extraordinary gazette notification, which is 2151/52, which is it has issued by the determining the VAT rates, the 0 rated, 8% and all these things. By determining the VAT rate, one gazette notification has issued. Then with reference to that gazette notification, another gazette notification issued by describing when it comes to the 0 rated supplies on that particular the industry, what are the 2 definitions, the input VAT, what is the value addition definition and locally sourced definition. By giving those definitions, that gazette notifications issued. Clear? Then therefore, this is clearly testing the open book referential material, and Lama, you should have this knowledge of these 2 gazette notifications. Okay? Now, before go for the answer, before go for the rest of the part, I will come to the gazette notification, which is 2151-52 on the VAT rates. Come to this one. This is the particular relevant Gazette notification. If you knew these things, you can take the Gazette and you can write the theoretical part, and by the calculation, you have to do the calculation and check whether the requirements are satisfied or not. Come to here. This is the Gazette notification number 2151/52, which is issued on 29th November 2019 for what? Order under section 2A, which is talking about the VAT rates, Value Added Tax Act number 14 of 2002 as amended by Act number 6 of 2005. Okay, here come to this one. By virtue of the powers vested in me by section 2A of the VAT Act as amended Act which is 6 of 2005, particular finance minister has given this order. I am coming to here only the paragraph 1. The VAT value added tax shall be charged A. on the supply of services by a hotel, guest house, restaurant. In our case, what is? It's a restaurant. Done. It's restaurant or other similar business providing a similar service. What's the next requirement, Lamai? Registered with Sri Lanka Tourist Development Authority. In our case, that one also satisfied. The TF, if what's the name? It's a TFPL. It has registered with the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Done. One requirement done. Second requirement, if 60% of the total value of the inputs are sourced from local supplies. The second requirement is the 60% of the total value of the inputs are sourced from local sources. Now we need to look at, in the paper, the input VAT details, the purchases details are provided. We need to look at whether this 60% requirement is satisfied or not. That means 60% is from the local source or not from the local source. If that two requirements were satisfied, Lamai, what is the applicable rate? It's at the rate of 0%. Now, did you understand? Then if that the requirement satisfied for that 92 million of entire supply, even it is not under section 7, if you all know, it's on export 0 rate is applicable, but under this section, this Gazette notification under the amendment or change to section 2A, it has given the applicable tax rate is a 0%. Now you need to apply this given information to this calculation of 60%. Is it difficult? No. When writing the answer, Lama, you need to quote from this Gazette. Also, now it has the 60% of the total value of inputs. We don't know what's the total value of inputs and in source from local supplies. For these two words, the definition has given in the this Gazette notification 2152/60. This one, it is relevant to our now so-called, which we have discussed the Gazette notification. There, the insert in a new paragraph, this Roman 1 and Roman 2 has given total value of inputs. How to compute total value of inputs? It means the total value of the goods purchased during the taxable period. What is our taxable period? Which is during the taxable period which ended prior to the commencement of the taxable period, immediately preceding to the taxable period for which the 0% value added tax rates apply. The 0% value added tax rate apply from this hotel or a guest house or a restaurant which registered with the Tourist Development Authority effective from 1st December 2019. Then the relevant taxable period for that is the October, November, December taxable period, which is immediately the preceding one. Then is a October, November, December taxable period. The question is asked about based on that period, can we apply the 0% on the given period of January, February, March? Okay, we need to do the calculation. All the facts and figures are given in the paper. And inputs which are sourced from local supplies or source it has given means the total expenditure incurred for the purchase of locally produced agricultural, horticultural, fishing, animal husbandry or dairy products and any goods manufactured locally with minimum 10% of local value addition for the taxable period which ended prior to the commencement of the taxable period, immediately proceeding to the taxable period for which the 0% value added tax rate is applicable. Now again, it's 31st December 2020 quarter, details given here, the particular things are given. Locally produced agriculture, locally produced horticulture, locally produced fishing, animal husbandry or dairy products or any other goods manufactured locally within 10% of the value addition. We will look at what are the given by the examiner. Now when writing the answer, Lamai, first thing you have to quote from this gazette notification and the two gazette notifications you have to write whether this condition satisfied the 0% is applicable. These are the two definitions. After that, that's the theory part. After that, you have to come to the calculation whether it's 60% or more, whether it's less than the 60%. Now I am directly coming to the calculation part. Come to this one. This is the question 2. Wait, I will increase this. Then okay, now it's enough. It's a question 2, part C, 8 marks, 14.4 minutes. Okay, determining of VAT rate applicable for company, the application of gazette notification 2151/52 and the 2152/60. Both that first gazette, first paragraph, second gazette, both that thing is applicable. Computation of total value of inputs, which is immediately prior to the taxable period. Our taxable period is 31st March 2021. Immediately prior is 31st December 2020. Now see, vegetables and fruit from TFPL's own gardens. Now agriculture, done. Second one, rice, vegetables and fruit from the local markets. Again agriculture. Then fish, meat and milk products, the dairy products, animal husbandry, fishing. Third, other local purchases, 2.8, it's think that the 10% value addition is there. The all 4 are from the local source according to the gazette notification. Then imported items, this is not relevant for our calculation. Why? These are not the locally sourced, the 3.5 million and the 3.7 million. Now, this is the total purchases during the 2 quarters. Now we will do the calculation. I have put the note, import purchases shall not be considered since it is not locally sourced. Okay. The value of inputs for the quarter ended 31st December 2020 immediately prior to the taxable period. Now see, total inputs. Total value of inputs from the local source, it's from this 36 million, you have to deduct 3.5 or else the summation of these 4, which is 32,928,550. Done. Then the total purchases including the import purchases, from that we need to look at the percentage. At 100, it's how much? 90.39%. Then it's above 60% or below 60%? It's above 60%. Now, if we have look at our this quarter ended 31st March 2021, when calculating the total value of inputs, it is the total value of the inputs, again the summation of these 4 lamai, it's 39,606,300. Done. Then the summation of the total purchases, it is this including the import purchases, into 100%. Now we are having 91.41. Again, even the current taxable period, it is more than 60%. Now we have determined that the local purchases are above the limit of 60%. Therefore, the applicable tax rate of taxable supply is what? 0 rated. How am I determined that? Based on the calculation and based on the legal provisions given in the 2 gazette notifications. Now the answer, thereby there is no any output VAT liability on taxable supply. What is the taxable supply? 92,540,000. On that 0%, no output VAT therefore. Done. Now the first part done. Is second in the question asks the VAT rate Q1. It's completed. Secondly, and the claimable input tax. Secondly, claimable input tax for the quarter. It's asking what is the opinion you should have to tell on that. 0% is what, Lamai? 0 rated is a taxable supply. 0 rated is a taxable supply. Therefore, any input VAT relevant to taxable supply can be claimed or not. Shall be claimable. Come to here. Claiming of input tax as per section 83 interpretation. 0 rated supply is a taxable supply, and input VAT relevant to the taxable supply shall not be claimed. Then input VAT relevant to the taxable supply shall be claimed. It's not line karagan, it's a shall be claimed. Therefore, input VAT relevant to above supply is totally claimable. This is my conclusion. Now for the answer, you have to take the legal provisions from the 2 gazette notification, and after that you have to do this calculation and you have to look at whether it's 60% or more. And here the 2 things you need to look at, Lamai, the 60% criterion as well as whether this restaurant is registered with the Tourist Development Authority. Clear? If that 2 conditions satisfied, then you all can apply the 0%. You need to check it with the immediately prior quarter and apply for this one. And if it is a 0%, it is taxable supply. Any input relevant to that taxable supply you can claim. Quickly come for the discussion of the question for this one, for you to have a understanding about the question and the answer format. Analysis of question 2C. Action verb is advise. It's a tier 5, which is higher level, which is if under evaluate. You have to advise. What is the meaning of the advice? Offer suggestions about the best course of action in a manner suited to the recipient. Now you need to tell what's the best course. Best course to do that, you have to do that all, which we have done. Requirement, advise TFPL on the VAT liability of the company for the quarter ended 31st March 2021. Your answer should be comprise these things. Marks are allocated for this. First one, what is the VAT rate applicable for TFPL? Secondly, claiming input VAT for the quarter. That 2 specifications very clearly examiner has asked from you. You should write your answer for that. Thirdly, as per relevant legal provision. What are the relevant legal provisions? Discussion of the Gazette notification number 2151/52 and 2152/60 on application of the VAT rate, which is showing the importance of orphan book referential material. In last paper, Lama, you can remember is what the requirements asked in the open book, and there are a lot of things helping when writing your answer from the open book referential materials. Therefore, please be familiarized with those materials definitely before examination. Then this is allocated marks 8. The time allocation is the time allocation is the 14.4 minutes are there. Okay. Now this is the question 2. Let me come to the again the first here. This is the end of the discussion of the question 2 of your July 2021 examination paper. Now, if I have summarized the question again, first part for the 10 marks is for the assessing the balance VAT payable for the taxable period. Second part is for the deduction. It's not relevant to VAT, it's relevant to the provisions of the Inland Revenue Act and the case law provisions. Then it is deductibility of the expenses, and part C on the determination of the VAT rate and the claiming of input VAT as per the provisions of the Gazette 2 Gazette notification. This is the end of the discussion of the question 2 of your paper. Then there are 2 questions to discuss. Then we will meet again with the rest of the discussion of that 2 questions. Thank you very much.